Fleet Admiral Dong Hyun Song stood before the largest military gathering in galactic history. Representatives from 12 council species filled the massive command center, while holographic displays showed over 3,000 ships from across known space. Today they would end the Zerathi Empire or die trying. The Zerathi homeworld is the most heavily defended planet in their empire, Dong Hyun announced. Traditional assault tactics would require sacrificing millions of lives and might still fail. The assembled alien commanders shifted nervously. Many of them had fought alongside humans for months now, but attacking an entire star system still seemed impossible. "What do you propose, Admiral?" asked the Vorthak fleet commander, her crystal body pulsing with worry. "We do what humans do best," Dong Hyun said simply. "We make it up as we go along." The plan, if it could be called a plan, was unlike anything ever attempted in galactic warfare. Instead of one massive coordinated assault, the combined fleet would split into hundreds of independent groups, each approaching the Zerathi homeworld from different directions at different times using different methods, and some groups will pretend to be refugees, explained Colonel Jaewon Ryu. Others will pose as traders, diplomats, or even lost ships asking for directions. The Zerathi will be so busy trying to figure out what's real and what's fake that they won't be able to mount an effective defense. Commander Ha Young Kim added, "The beauty is that we don't even need most of these groups to reach the planet. They just need to create enough chaos that the real assault teams can get through." As the briefing continued, Ambassador Yoo-Jin Park was working on a completely different approach. While the military prepared for battle, she was preparing for something the galaxy had never seen. A diplomatic solution that didn't involve honor duels or ancient treaties. "The Zerathi Emperor has agreed to a direct communication," she reported to Admiral Dong Hyun Song. "He wants to understand why the Council suddenly became effective at warfare." "You're going to tell him?" "I'm going to show him that humans don't just change how wars are fought. We change why wars are fought." The attack began at dawn, Zerathi homeworld time. The first wave consisted of apparent refugees from destroyed colonies, limping toward the planet in damaged ships and begging for sanctuary. The Zerathi Defense Fleet, programmed to respond to military threats, didn't know how to handle thousands of civilian vessels. Zerathi Command. "This is the refugee ship Hope's End," transmitted Captain Min-Soo Jang, whose vessel looked like it had barely survived a battle. "We have wounded aboard, requesting emergency medical assistance." The Zerathi duty officer's response crackled with confusion. You are requesting aid from your enemies?" "Your soldiers, not monsters," Min-Soo replied. "Even in war there are rules about helping the wounded." This was a completely alien concept to the Zerathi. Their empire had built its power on conquest and domination. The idea that enemies might ask for help, or that anyone would provide it, didn't exist in their military protocols. While the defense fleet struggled with the refugee problem, the second wave arrived. Hundreds of ships claiming to be neutral traders, diplomatic vessels, and scientific expeditions. Each group had legitimate-sounding reasons for approaching the homeworld, and each group demanded to be treated according to different galactic laws and customs. "We are traders from the neutral zone," announced another human captain. "We have legal contracts to deliver supplies to Zerathi colonies. You must honor commercial agreements." "We are diplomats from the Peaceful Species Alliance," said another. "We demand safe passage according to Treaty 779. "We are scientists studying stellar phenomena," claimed a third group. "This is a research vessel protected under galactic academic conventions." The Zerathi military had spent centuries perfecting responses to direct military attacks. They had no idea how to handle an invasion disguised as bureaucracy. "All vessels, maintain distance," came the increasingly desperate command from Zerathi Defense Control. We are consulting our legal databases." That's when Ambassador Yoo-Jin Park made contact with the Zerathi Emperor directly. "Your Imperial Majesty," she said, using the formal protocols that human diplomats had learned from Council species, "I am Ambassador Yoo-Jin Park of Earth. I request permission to speak directly about ending this war." The Emperor's response came from the heavily fortified palace on the planet's surface. "Human Ambassador, your species has brought chaos to an orderly galaxy. Why should we negotiate with creatures who fight without honor?" "Because, Your Majesty, we're not just creatures who fight without honor. We're creatures who can choose not to fight at all." For the first time in the conversation, There was silence from the Zarathi side. "Explain this concept," the Emperor finally said. "Your empire conquered other species because you were stronger, and they were weaker. That's the old way, might makes right. But humans don't just think about who's stronger. We think about whether fighting is necessary. Fighting is always necessary. The strong must rule the weak. But what if everyone could be strong? What if instead of conquering species, you helped them become better? What if instead of taking their resources, you traded for them fairly?" While this conversation continued, the real military assault was taking place. General In-Ho Lee led the actual attack force, using the chaos created by fake refugees and traders to slip past Zarathi defenses. "The Emperor is distracted," he reported to his assault teams. "All defense fleets are trying to process the refugee situation. Move to Phase 3. Phase 3 was pure human warfare at its most creative. Instead of attacking the military installations that the Zarathi expected to defend, the assault teams targeted infrastructure that the enemy had never considered military targets. Team Alpha disabled the planet's communication satellites by disguising their attack as a routine maintenance check. Team Beta took over the traffic control systems for the entire star system and started giving false directions to Zarathi ships. Team Gamma infiltrated the planetary power grid and began causing strategic blackouts that looked like equipment failures. Team Delta hacked into the Zarathi food distribution network and started routing supplies to the wrong locations. "What are they doing?" demanded the Zarathi military commander. "These are not military targets. They're attacking our civilization instead of our army," realized the Emperor. "Without communications, power, and supplies, our military becomes irrelevant." But the most devastating attack came from director Sujin Kwan, who had spent months studying Zarathi psychology. She had discovered that the Empire's entire social structure was based on obedience to authority and fear of change. "Citizens of the Zarathi Empire," she broadcast on every communication channel simultaneously, "your leaders have been lying to you. The galaxy is not your enemy. We want to trade with you, learn from you, and share knowledge with you. Your Emperor keeps you isolated because he fears you'll discover that cooperation is more powerful than conquest." The broadcast included recordings of council species working together, humans and aliens collaborating on scientific projects, and former enemies now fighting side by side against the Empire that had threatened them all. "This is impossible," the Emperor snarled to Ambassador Eugene Park. "Our citizens obey without question." "Your citizens are intelligent beings," Eugene replied. "When intelligent beings learn they have choices, they start making them." Across the Zarathi homeworld, something unprecedented was happening. Citizens who had never questioned their government's orders were starting to ask why they were fighting a war against people who offered friendship instead of conquest. Zarathi soldiers found themselves facing an enemy that wouldn't kill them if they surrendered, wouldn't destroy their homes if they stopped fighting, and actually wanted to help rebuild what the war had damaged. Zarathi Defense Fleet. "This is Admiral Dong Hyun Song," came the transmission from the human fleet commander. "Your Emperor can continue this war if he chooses, but your people don't have to. Any Zarathi citizen who wants peace can find it with us." The final surrender came not through military defeat, but through a simple question that spread throughout Zarathi space. Why are we fighting people who want to be our friends? 6 months later, Captain Min-Soo Jang commanded the first integrated exploration vessel in galactic history. His crew included humans, council species, and former Zarathi soldiers, all working together to explore unknown regions of space. "Captain's log," he dictated as they approached a new star system. "Today we make first contact with another species. Instead of determining if they're friend or enemy, our mission is to learn what they need and how we can help provide it." His first officer, a former Zarathi military commander now called Friend of Many Species, asked, "What if they are hostile?" "Then we'll teach them what we taught your empire," Min-Soo replied. "That cooperation is more powerful than conquest, and friendship is more valuable than victory." In the ship's ready room, Director Sujin Kwan was compiling the final reports on the war that had changed everything. The Zarathi Empire had become the Zarathi Alliance, Council space had become cooperative space, and humanity had earned its place not as conquerors, but as teachers. Intelligence Officer Sungmin Bae woke up in a cell that hurt to look at. The walls shifted colors constantly, and the floor felt like it was moving even when he stayed still. His head throbbed from whatever the Zarathi had done to capture him. 3 days ago, he had been analyzing enemy communications from a safe research station. Now he was a prisoner in the deepest part of Zarathi space, and his captors wanted to know how human minds worked. "The specimen is awake," said a voice that sounded like metal scraping against stone. Sungmin forced himself to sit up and look at his captor. The Zarathi looked like a cross between a spider and a machine, with 8 legs ending in sharp points and a head covered in too many eyes. When it moved, metal plates along its body clinked together. "I am Research Master of Pain. You will explain human tactical thinking." "I want to speak to your commander," Sungmin said, trying to keep his voice steady. "You will speak when we command it." "How do humans achieve tactical unpredictability?" Sungmin almost laughed despite his fear. "You captured the wrong guy. I'm just an intelligence analyst. I study your communications, not human tactics. All humans possess chaos thinking. You will demonstrate." For the next several hours, Research Master of Pain ran tests that made no sense. They showed Sungmin battle scenarios and demanded he solve them instantly. They presented impossible military problems and wanted creative solutions. They even made him play strange games that seemed designed to measure how quickly he could change strategies. "Curious," the Zarathi said after the tests. "This human's responses are completely different from yesterday's responses to the same scenarios." "Yesterday? You tested me yesterday?" "We tested all human prisoners daily for 2 weeks. Each day, responses change. This is impossible. Proper tactical thinking must be consistent." That's when Sungmin realized what was happening. The Zarathi had captured several humans and were trying to understand human unpredictability by studying their prisoners. But they couldn't grasp that humans naturally gave different answers to the same questions because they were always thinking of new possibilities. "You want to understand human thinking?" Sungmin asked. "Yes." "Then let me explain something. Humans don't have one way of solving problems. We have thousands of ways, and we pick different ones depending on the situation. This is inefficient. One optimal solution should be used repeatedly. But what if the optimal solution stops working? What if the enemy learns to counter it?" Research Master of Pain's many eyes blinked in confusion. "Then, you develop a new optimal solution and use it repeatedly. What if they counter that one too? Then, the Zarathi seemed to struggle with the concept. "How many solutions can one species develop?" "As many as we need." Meanwhile, on a medical station orbiting Council Prime, Dr. Yunji Cho was examining rescued human prisoners and making discoveries that changed everything scientists thought they knew about warfare and evolution. "The neurological scans are remarkable," she told the assembled council medical team. "Human brains show adaptation patterns that don't exist in any other known species." The lead Vorthak scientist, whose crystal body glowed with curiosity, asked, "What kind of patterns?" "When humans face repeated problems, most species would develop fixed responses. But human neural pathways actually get more flexible over time. The more often we solve the same type of problem, the more different ways we develop to solve it." A Nefri researcher rippled with confusion. "This seems counterproductive. Why not perfect one solution and use it efficiently?" "Because," Yunji said, pulling up brain scans on the display, "humans evolved on a planet that never stayed the same. Ice ages, climate changes, natural disasters, diseases. Earth kept throwing new challenges at us. Species that couldn't adapt quickly went extinct. So human brains are designed for constant change. More than that, human brains are designed to expect that any solution will eventually stop working. We automatically start looking for alternatives before we even need them." The implications hit the alien scientists like a shockwave. Every other species in the galaxy had evolved on stable worlds with predictable challenges. They developed perfect solutions and stuck with them for millions of years. But humans came from a world that punished species for being too predictable. Back in Zarathi space, Colonel Jaewon Ryu was leading the largest rescue operation in galactic history. Intelligence suggested that the enemy was holding over 50 human prisoners in research facilities, trying to understand and counter human tactics. "The problem is," Jaewon explained to his mixed fleet of human and alien commanders, "the Zarathi are doing exactly what we'd expect them to do. They're trying to develop specific counters to human tactics." Commander Ha-Young Kim, leading the stealth division, nodded. "And every day they study our people. They think they're getting closer to figuring us out." "Which gives us a perfect opportunity," Jae-won continued. They expect us to use the same rescue tactics we've used before. So we're going to do something completely different. What's the plan? Asked Crystalline Singer of Dawn, who had become an expert at human-style tactical thinking. Operation Infinite Variables. Every rescue team gets complete tactical independence. No central coordination, no standard procedures, no predetermined plans. Each team makes up their approach as they go. The alien commanders looked uncomfortable. Hive Mind Node 7 spoke for many of them. This seems chaotic. How will we coordinate our efforts? We don't, Jae-won said simply. The Zarathi are expecting coordinated attacks they can predict and counter. Instead, we hit them with 50 different rescue attempts, each one using completely different methods. Commander Hye-young Kim smiled. They're studying human tactics, so they'll be ready for human tactics. They won't be ready for human improvisation. The operation launched at dawn, Galactic Standard Time. 50 rescue teams approached 50 different Zarathi facilities, using 50 different strategies. Team Alpha, disguised themselves as a Zarathi, supply convoy, and simply drove through the front gate of a research station. Team Beta used stolen mining equipment to drill up through the floor of an underground prison. Team Gamma convinced the Zarathi guards that they were delivering new test subjects and walked right into the detention center's. Team Delta created a fake Zarathi emergency that required evacuating all prisoners to safety, which turned out to be their rescue ship. Team Echo hired neutral alien traders to buy the human prisoners as experimental subjects and then accidentally lost them during transfer. The Zarathi Defense Network, designed to handle coordinated military assaults, couldn't cope with dozens of simultaneous operations that had nothing in common except their goal. Base command to all Zarathi stations, came the panicked transmission that human intelligence intercepted. We are under attack by... We don't know what we're under attack by. Clarify your report, Station 77. Some attackers appear to be traitors. Others claim to be official inspectors. Several groups say they're delivering new prisoners. One team convinced our guards they were here to fix the plumbing. Are these coordinated attacks? No coordination detected. Each attack uses completely different methods. We cannot develop counter-strategies because no strategy is being repeated. By the end of the day, 47 of the 50 rescue operations had succeeded. The 3 failures occurred because those teams tried to use traditional military tactics instead of improvising. Sungmin Bae found himself aboard Commander Hye-young Kim's stealth ship, finally free after weeks of captivity. As the medical team checked him over, he shared what he had learned about Zarathi thinking. They can't understand tactical flexibility, he reported. Their entire military is based on developing perfect responses to specific threats. When they face something new, they study it until they create a perfect counter-strategy. But humans don't use perfect strategies, Hye-young said. Exactly. We use whatever works at the moment and then we never use it the same way twice. It drives them crazy. What about their research on human prisoners? Sungmin laughed, though it wasn't entirely happy. They spent weeks testing human tactical thinking. Every day they got different results from the same people answering the same questions. They finally concluded that human brains are defective because we don't give consistent responses. Defective? They think we're malfunctioning because we keep changing our minds. They can't comprehend that changing our minds is exactly what makes us effective. Back on Council Station Prime, Admiral Kyung-soo Lim received the mission reports with amazement. 50 different rescue operations using methods ranging from brilliant to ridiculous, and almost all of them successful. The Zarathi High Command sent out a fleet-wide communication, his intelligence officer reported. They're calling humans the impossible enemy, and requesting new instructions from their emperor. What kind of new instructions? They want to know how to fight an opponent that never fights the same way twice. Admiral Lim smiled grimly. Tell our human tactical advisors to prepare for the next phase. If the Zarathi want to understand human warfare, we'll give them a demonstration they'll never forget. What's the next phase? We stop holding back. Time to show them what happens when humans really get creative. The war was about to change again, and the cosmos still wasn't ready for what humanity would do next. General So-ra Moon walked through the training facility on Council Station Prime, watching something that had never existed before in galactic history. Alien warriors from 12 different species were learning to fight like humans. It had been 6 weeks since the victory at Beta Colony, and word had spread throughout Council space about the chaos tactics that could defeat the Zerathi Empire. Now every species wanted to learn human methods, though most of them struggled to understand the basic concepts. No, Sergeant Wu Jinhan was saying to a group of Crystal Vorthak warriors. When I say retreat, you actually run away. You don't retreat slowly while maintaining honor formations. One of the crystal beings, Battle Singer of Ancient Ways, flashed red with confusion. But if we retreat without proper ceremony, how will the enemy know we are worthy opponents? They won't, Wu Jin said patiently. That's the point. You want them to think you're weak and scared. Then when they chase you, you turn around and destroy them. This is dishonest. This is survival. Across the training room, engineer Narration was working on a different problem. She stood before a massive computer system that controlled battle tactics for the entire Council fleet. The machine had been programmed with thousands of years of traditional alien warfare and couldn't understand human-style fighting. Computer, run simulation surprise attack from asteroid field, Nari commanded. Error. Attack patterns must be announced according to galactic warfare protocols, the computer responded. Override protocols. Execute stealth attack. Error. Stealth attacks violate honor codes of 7-member species, Nari rubbed her temples. Teaching aliens to fight like humans was hard enough. Teaching their computers was nearly impossible. Computer. New definition. Honor includes protecting innocent lives through any effective means. The computer was quiet for several seconds, a long time for an advanced AI. Processing new parameters. Warning. This conflicts with 4847 traditional combat doctrines. Update all doctrines. Priority override survival of Council species. Acknowledged. Implementing human logic combat systems. Meanwhile, Captain Young Ho Shin was preparing for the most dangerous mission of his career. Intelligence reports showed that the Zerathi had captured over 300 Council citizens from recent attacks and were holding them on a prison world called Torture Rock 7. The traditional rescue plan called for a massive fleet assault, formal demands for prisoner release, and honorable single combat between champions. It would take months to organize and would likely result in the prisoners being killed. Young Ho had a different idea. We go in fast, grab the prisoners, and get out before the Zerathi know what happened, he explained to his mixed team of human and alien soldiers. Staff Sergeant Mi Kyung. Oh nodded from across the briefing table. Her specialty was psychological operations, getting inside enemy heads and turning their own thoughts against them. The Zerathi guards expect traditional attack patterns, Mi Kyung said. They've set up defenses against honor duels and formal battle challenges. They're not ready for a smash-and-grab operation. Crystalline Singer of Dawn, who had requested to join the mission, sparkled with concern. What about the prisoner's honor? If we rescue them through trickery, will they not feel shame? They'll feel alive, Young Ho said simply. Dead prisoners don't have honor or shame. The mission launched 12 hours later. Young Ho's team used a captured Zerathi transport ship, complete with fake identification codes that Mi Kyung had created by studying enemy psychology. Zerathi guards think like soldiers, she had explained. They follow orders, trust their equipment, and don't question authority. We'll just become an authority they don't question. The transport approached Torture Rock 7 broadcasting legitimate Zerathi codes. When the prison guards hailed them, Mi Kyung responded using perfect enemy protocols. Prison Transport 77 Alpha requesting permission to transfer new prisoners, she said, in the harsh Zerathi language. Confirmed. 77 Alpha. Bay 3 is cleared for landing. Inside the prison, Young Ho and his team moved quickly through corridors designed for traditional combat. The Zerathi had built their defenses to stop frontal assaults by honor-bound warriors, not infiltration by soldiers who didn't care about fighting fair. They found the prisoners in a massive holding area. Most were Crystal Vorthak, their bodies dim with despair. A few were aquatic Nephri, barely alive in artificial water tanks. Several insect klaxons sat motionless, cut off from their hive minds. Attention, prisoners, Young Ho announced quietly. We're here to rescue you. When I say move, you move fast and you don't ask questions. A Vorthak prisoner, barely glowing, looked up in confusion. Are you here to challenge our captors to honorable combat for our release? No, Young Ho said. We're here to steal you back. Mi Kyung had been working her psychological magic on captured Zerathi guards. Using techniques developed in human prisoner of war camps, she convinced 3 enemy soldiers that their commanders had abandoned them. "Your leaders left you here to die," she told them through the translator. "But humans protect soldiers who switch sides. Come with us and live, or stay here and die when the real rescue fleet arrives." It was a complete lie. There was no rescue fleet coming. But the Zarathi guards, trained to follow orders without question, couldn't handle the idea that their superiors might betray them. 2 of them actually switched sides and helped load prisoners onto the transport. The escape went perfectly until they reached orbit. A Zarathi patrol fleet returning early from another raid detected the transport leaving the prison world. "Unknown vessel, return to Torture Rock 7 immediately," came the harsh command. Young Ho looked at Mi-kyung. "Can you fool them again?" "Not this time. They're suspicious now." That's when Crystalline Singer of Dawn surprised everyone. The Crystal Warrior had been learning human tactics for weeks, and she finally understood what adaptability really meant. "Captain, I request permission to transmit to the Zarathi fleet." "What are you going to say?" "Something they will never expect." Crystalline Singer of Dawn activated the communication system. When she spoke, her voice carried the formal tones of ancient Vorthak diplomacy. "Zarathi Fleet Commander, I am Battle Singer of Crystal Light, speaking for the rescued prisoners. We challenge your entire fleet to single combat. If you defeat our champion, we will return to prison willingly." The Zarathi commander's response crackled with confusion. What champion?" "Me," said the Crystal Warrior. Then she cut the transmission and turned to Young Ho. "Humans are not the only species that can lie for a good cause." While the Zarathi fleet was trying to figure out the formal protocols for responding to an individual combat challenge, Young Ho's transport jumped to hyperspace and escaped. Back on Council Station Prime, Admiral Kyung-Soo Lim was reviewing battle reports when the rescue team returned. The successful mission was already becoming legend throughout Council space. 300 prisoners rescued, 0 casualties, minimal resources used, he read from the report. The Zarathi are calling it impossible sorcery in their communications. General So-Ra-Moon smiled. They're starting to understand what they're really fighting. Which is? An entire species that treats the impossible as a starting point. Across the galaxy, Zarathi High Command was holding emergency meetings. For the first time in their empire's history, they were losing battles against opponents who should have been easy to defeat. "The humans have infected the council races with chaos thinking," reported their chief strategist. "Traditional alien species are now fighting like humans," finished the Zarathi Emperor. "Then we must study these humans more carefully, capture their leaders, learn their weaknesses, and if they have no weaknesses," the Emperor's multiple eyes glowed with cold fire. "Every species has weaknesses. We will find humanity's weakness and use it to destroy them all." But in the training facility on Council Station Prime, Narration was putting the finishing touches on her new battle computer system. For the first time, alien artificial intelligence could think like humans, unpredictably, creatively, and without regard for ancient rules. Computer, analyze human combat effectiveness. Analysis complete. Human tactical adaptability increases proportionally with threat level. Recommendation: the greater the danger, the more creative humans become. Warning: this species becomes more dangerous when cornered, not less. Nari smiled. The cosmos was finally starting to understand what it had invited into the war. Computer, prepare full tactical integration with all council fleets. It's time to show the Zarathi what happens when an entire galaxy learns to fight like humans. The council chamber was enormous, filled with beings that looked like they came from nightmares and dreams. Commander Bo-Ram Choi stood at the center, trying not to stare at the 12-foot-tall insect creature clicking its mandibles at her. 3 days had passed since the emergency session, and somehow humanity had been given permission to help fight the Zarathi. Bo-Ram wasn't sure if this was an honor or a death sentence. "The human commander will explain her battle plan," announced the council speaker, a floating crystal being that sparkled when it talked. Bo-Ram activated her tablet, showing a map of the local star systems. "The Zarathi are hitting your colonies because they know exactly how you'll respond. Every time they attack, you send the same formations using the same tactics." A massive creature covered in blue fur and tentacles rumbled something that the translator turned into. "We follow the sacred battle codes of our ancestors. Your ancestors never fought the Zarathi. Boram said. These enemies don't follow any codes. They hit and run, they trick you, they attack when you're not ready. If you keep using the same old methods, they'll destroy every colony in council space. The insect being, whose name sounded like clicking noises, spoke through its translator. What do you propose, mammal? Mixed units? Human tactical advice combined with your technology and numbers. We teach you to fight unpredictably. The chamber erupted in angry sounds from a dozen different species. Through her earpiece, Boram heard fragments. Dishonor, sacred traditions, primitive creatures. But the council speaker raised a crystalline hand for silence. The Zarathi attack Beta Colony in 6 hours. You will have one chance to prove human methods work. 2 hours later, Boram stood in the hangar bay of a massive alien warship, looking at the strangest military unit ever assembled. Her team included Sergeant Woojin Han, a former Seoul Special Forces soldier who looked completely calm despite being surrounded by creatures from other worlds. Sergeant Han, meet your squad, Boram said. Woojin studied his new teammates. There was Crystalline Singer of Dawn, a Vorthak warrior whose body was made of living crystal and who stood 8 feet tall. Her traditional weapon was a blade of pure energy that could cut through starship hull. Next to her stood Hivemind Node 7, a Klaxon drone connected telepathically to thousands of other insect soldiers. It moved with perfect coordination, but only when following Hive commands. The third member was Flow of Deep Waters, a Nefri who looked like a human-sized dolphin with arms and legs. His species fought by surrounding enemies like ocean currents. Okay, team, Woojin said in simple English that the translators could handle. The Zarathi will expect traditional attacks. We're going to surprise them. Crystalline Singer of Dawn's crystal body flashed bright blue. I do not hide or use tricks. The honor of my clan demands direct combat. And that's exactly why the Zarathi are winning, Woojin said. They know you'll attack head-on. So instead we're going to sneak in the back door. Sneaking is not honorable, the Crystal Warrior protested. Neither is losing, Woojin replied. Meanwhile, across the ship, Lieutenant Ji-hoon Kang was having his own problems. He sat in the cockpit of humanity's first hybrid fighter, part human design, part alien technology. The controls were a mess of buttons, switches, and things that glowed when he touched them. Flight Leader Kang, came a voice through his comm system. This is Wing Song of Victory, Vorthak Ace Pilot. I will fly at your right wing. Ji-hoon looked out his canopy at the alien fighter next to him. It was beautiful, all crystal and light, but it moved in straight lines like it was following a railroad track. Wing Song, this is Kang. When we hit the battle zone, I need you to follow my lead exactly. Don't worry about formation flying or traditional attack patterns. I have flown the sacred formations for 50 years of combat. I will not abandon them for human chaos. Then you'll be dead in 5 minutes, Ji-hoon said simply. The attack began at Beta Colony, a mining station built into an asteroid. The Zarathi had surrounded it with 30 ships, while the Council Defense Force approached with 40 vessels in perfect formation. Boram watched from the command ship as the first phase of battle unfolded exactly as expected. The Council forces moved in their traditional patterns, crystal ships in triangular formations, insect ships in swarms, aquatic ships in flowing waves. The Zarathi immediately began their own tactics. They scattered their ships randomly, making fake retreat signals and hiding behind asteroids. When the Honorable Council forces tried to engage them in direct combat, the Zarathi ships vanished and reappeared somewhere else. Now, Boram ordered, execute human tactics. Woojin and his mixed squad were already inside the enemy formation. Instead of attacking the main Zarathi fleet, they had approached the battle from below, disguised as space debris. Their ship looked like a broken mining vessel, complete with fake damage and distress signals. The Zarathi commander ship is right ahead, Woojin whispered to his alien teammates. We go in quiet, take out their communications, and let chaos do the rest. Crystalline Singer of Dawn was still uncomfortable with the plan. This is not how warriors fight, but it's how warriors win, said Hivemind Node 7, surprising everyone. The insect drone had been analyzing human tactics through its hive connection. The collective has reviewed human military history. Your species wins through adaptation, not tradition. Flow of Deep Waters rippled in agreement, like water finding new paths around rocks. They docked with the Zerathi command ship without being detected. The enemy was so focused on the traditional battle happening outside that they never looked for infiltrators. Wu Jin led his squad through maintenance tunnels using alien technology in ways it was never designed for. There, he pointed to a central computer core. Node 7, can your people hack that system? Klaxon technology interfaces with all galactic standard networks, the insect confirmed. Within minutes, the Zerathi command ship lost contact with its fleet. At the same time, Ji-hoon was rewriting the rules of space combat. While the other pilots flew in predictable formations, he zigged and zagged through the battle zone like he was dodging traffic in Seoul. Wingsong, break formation and follow me through that asteroid field, he ordered. That is not proper fighter tactics. Do you want to be proper, or do you want to live? Ji-hoon dove his fighter between two massive space rocks, with Wingsong reluctantly following. 3 Zerathi ships pursuing them couldn't match the crazy maneuvers and crashed into the asteroids. How did you know they would follow us there? Wingsong asked, amazed. Because people always chase what they can't catch, Ji-hoon explained. It's basic psychology. The battle turned when the Zerathi lost their coordination. Without their command ship directing them, the enemy fleet couldn't adapt to the Council's suddenly unpredictable tactics. Ships that had been following ancient formations were now copying human techniques. Hiding, retreating, attacking from unexpected angles. When the fighting ended, 40 Zerathi ships had been destroyed or captured, while the Council forces lost only 3 vessels. In the aftermath, Borum stood before the Council assembly again. The chamber was much quieter this time. The human tactics worked, admitted the floating crystal speaker, but many of our warriors are uncomfortable with these unconventional methods. Your warriors are alive, Borum pointed out. And the Zerathi are not. Crystalline Singer of Dawn stepped forward, her crystal body now glowing with respect instead of anger. I have fought beside humans. They showed me that honor can exist in many forms. Perhaps it is time to learn new ways of war. Hive Mind Node 7 clicked in agreement. The Hive Collective has processed human combat data. We recommend immediate integration of human tactical concepts into all Council military doctrine. Borum looked around the chamber at the assembled alien representatives. The Zerathi Empire has hundreds more ships. This was just one battle. If you want to survive what's coming, you need to be ready to fight like humans. The Council speaker's crystal body pulsed with deep light. Then we will learn. The cosmos must adapt or the cosmos will fall. As the assembly disbanded, Wu Jin walked up to Borum. Commander, I think we just started a revolution. Let's hope it's the right kind, she replied, watching alien warriors already beginning to discuss new tactical possibilities they had never imagined before. Captain Dong-wook Kim stared at the massive alien ship surrounding his exploration vessel. 3 weeks ago, he had been leading humanity's first deep space mission beyond the solar system. Now he sat in what the aliens called a detention chamber, waiting to learn if his species would live or die. The room was too bright and smelled like metal flowers. Dong-wook had been here for 6 hours and his head was starting to hurt. Through the clear walls, he could see creatures that looked like walking crystals moving back and forth. Their bodies caught the light and threw rainbows across the floor. A door opened with a soft hiss. A tall, thin alien walked in. Its skin was blue-green and covered in scales that moved like water. When it spoke, the words came from a device on its chest, not its mouth. I am Council Speaker Velna of the Nefri race. You are the leader of the human vessel? Captain Dong-wook Kim, Earth Exploration Corps, Dong-wook said, standing up straight. My ship was on a peaceful mission when your forces captured us. Captured is the wrong word, Velna said. The device made its voice sound calm, but Dong-wook noticed its large eyes were moving quickly. You entered Council space without permission. By law, we must decide if your species is ready for contact. Ready for contact? We've been sending radio signals into space for over 100 years. Velna made a sound that the translator couldn't handle. Radio signals do not make a species ready for the galaxy. Tell me, human, how does your kind solve conflicts? Dong-wook thought about wars, about arguments, about the messy way humans handled problems. We talk. We fight sometimes. We try to find solutions that work. You fight. Velna's scales moved faster. Describe this fighting. Well, it depends. Sometimes it's one person against another. Sometimes it's armies. We use whatever works, weapons, tactics, strategies. We adapt to the situation. Velna was quiet for a long moment. Adaptation during conflict. It's unusual. In council space, all warfare follows ancient protocols. The Vorthak fight with honor duels. The Klaxons use hive coordination. The Nefri employ calculated water tactics. Each species has their proper way. What if the proper way doesn't work? It always works. It has worked for thousands of years. Velna seemed confused by the question. Why would we change methods that bring honor and tradition? Before Dongwook could answer, alarms started screaming throughout the station. Red lights flashed and the crystal aliens outside began running. Velna touched something on its arm and its scales turned dark blue. What's happening? Dongwook asked. Zarathi Empire attack, Velna said quickly. They strike at Mining Colony 7 Delta. The council races are responding according to protocol. Can I help? Velna looked at him like he had asked to breathe underwater. You are a primitive species under evaluation. Your technology is basic, your evolution incomplete. What help could you possibly offer? On a nearby screen, Dongwook could see the battle starting. The council ships moved in perfect formations like some kind of space ballet. Each alien fleet followed clear patterns. The crystal beings flew in triangular groups. The water aliens moved in flowing waves, and the insect-like ships buzzed in tight swarms. The enemy ships were different. They moved in random groups, appeared from nowhere, and attacked in ways that made no sense. While the council forces followed their traditional battle plans, the Zarathi hit them from unexpected angles. Your people are losing, Dongwook said. Impossible. Our tactics are proven across millennia. But the screen showed the truth. Council ships were being destroyed because they couldn't change their patterns. When a Vorthak honor group was supposed to advance, they advanced even into obvious traps. When Nefri forces were meant to flow around enemies, they flowed, even when it left their flanks open. They're predictable, Dongwook said. The Zarathi know what you're going to do before you do it. Our methods bring honor. They show our cultural strength. They're getting your people killed. An hour later, Counselor Taemin Park arrived at the detention center. He was the only other human in council space, recently appointed as Earth's representative. He looked tired and worried. Dongwook, we have a problem, Taemin said. The council is losing badly. Mining Colony 7 Delta is gone. The Zarathi destroyed 3 council fleets using tactics no one understands. What kind of tactics? They pretended to retreat, then came back when our allies thought they were safe. They attacked from behind asteroids. They sent fake surrender signals and then exploded their own ships when rescue vessels came close. The council has never seen anything like it. Dongwook nodded. To him, these sounded like normal military strategies. Humans had been using tricks like this for thousands of years. So what do they want from us? Dr. Haiwan Lee is here. She's been studying the battle recordings. The council asked her to explain why the Zarathi are so effective. A woman in a military uniform walked into the room. Dr. Haiwan Lee looked like she hadn't slept in days. She carried a tablet showing the recent battles. Captain Kim, Counselor Park, she said. I've been watching these fights for 12 hours. The problem is clear. The council races fight like it's still the ancient times. They announce their attacks, follow traditional patterns, and never break their formation rules. And the Zarathi? They fight like humans. They lie, cheat, use tricks, and change their plans every few minutes. They attack weak points, run away when they're losing, and come back when the enemy isn't ready. Velna had been listening from the doorway. These are not honorable tactics. But they work, Haiwan said. Your people are dying because they won't adapt. The Zarathi are winning because they use their brains instead of just following old rules. What are you suggesting? Haiwan looked at Dongwook and Taemin. I think humanity might be the only species in the galaxy that can beat the Zarathi. We've been fighting dirty for our entire history. We know how to be unpredictable. Velna's scales turned pale yellow. You want us to abandon thousands of years of warrior tradition? I want you to survive, Haiwan said simply. Outside, another alarm started blaring. A crystal alien rushed in and spoke rapidly in a language the translator couldn't handle. Velna listened, then turned to the humans. The Zarathi have attacked 2 more colonies. The Council's emergency session will begin in 1 hour. You will present your species' capabilities to the full assembly. As they walked toward the Council chambers, Dongwook realized that humanity was about to face its biggest test. They would either prove they belonged in the galaxy, or watch the entire cosmic civilization fall to an enemy that fought like humans did. The cosmos wasn't ready for humanity. But maybe that was exactly what it needed.